Welcome to Fourth Plus Post English, weekly dosage of Pakistani politics. Overconfidence always comes with a price. And that price is now staring at the establishments right in the face. Pakistani establishment. For years, they lived under the illusion that everything was in their control. Since this previous government, since 2024 elections, that every piece on the chessboard was theirs to move at will. But reality doesn't bow to confidence tricks. They passed the 26th Amendment thinking it would neuter judicial resistance, and yet judges are still there, emboldened, raising their heads. They thought Imran Khan would fold at first whiff of the deal, but he slammed the doors in their offers, even rejecting narratives that could have served his own survival. Like, he is sick. Everyone was talking about Imran is sick, except Imran himself. And Nawaz and Zardari, politician, they thought firmly, everybody thought they are in their pockets. Establishment thought they are in their pockets. Now they are beginning to show their colors. Why? Because they know Imran will not surrender after the CBMs. Or at the very least, everybody is planting the fear that they might show their colors. This is what happens when politics is reduced to short-term fixes and personal whims. You can win a conflict abroad. You project military power to the world. You even expose India's fragility against China. And then you squander all of it on domestic politicking, on the intoxication of promotions and personal titles with no legal and constitutional basis. What should have been Medal of Honor becomes a tainted ornament. That's a tragedy. But here's the real tragedy. At the international level, Pakistan had a rare window. After the India's episode, global perception tilted over so slightly in Islamabad's favor. The West began doubting India's reliability against China. It was an opening to cash in on, diplomatically, economically, strategically. But did we do all that? We dragged politics into it for our continuation for the same phases. We diluted the gains with infighting. That's what we are trying to do. Instead of building on the achievement, we are using it to settle scores at home. That's the story of Pakistan. Medals turned into meaningless because politics always devours everything. Now look where we stand. The establishment is signaling Khan and he's rejecting them outright. The political elites, PML and PPP, they sense weakness and naturally they are maneuvering to maximize their own stakes because of the timings. Everyone is dipping their hand into the pot because of the timings, including people in establishment and the people in power. They find themselves boxed by their own arrogance. Meanwhile, nature throws its own punches. Floods, rains, devastation give politicians temporary relief of politics, I think. Because when nature strikes, the public is distracted from politics. But once the water recedes, reality will hit again. NFC awards, minerals, American companies already signing MoUs, Chinese exploration in the gas sector, all these fault lines remain. And here comes the danger. If America is digging our minerals while China is extracting our gas, what exactly are we turning Pakistan into? A battleground between two powers? That's exactly what. Add agriculture deals with this. And you got the recipe for another constitutional crisis, the so-called 27th Amendment. And when we talk about amendments, we design it to extend our control further. So we try to hide our desperation, like desperation layered under or upon arrogance. And desperation is precisely what defines the current mood. Look at the games being played. Narratives of Khan's health being floated to give impression of a deal. Alima Khan forced to publicly deny every rumor. CBMs like bails qualified, offered, then rejected. Gandapur, Khan's own appointed in KP, is reduced to posturing at rallies while tasked with compromises he cannot deliver. The stretching establishment is stretching every option too, but every path leads to another dead end. Now add the regional picture. Qatar, the tiny state whose rulers or elites once washed the feet of, has been slapped around repeatedly. America strikes Iran, Qatar takes the heat. Israel bombs Gaza, Qatar again bears the humiliation. And yet the same Arabs dictate Pakistan's foreign policy and power dynamics. They can't lift a finger against Israel. But a single phone call from them makes our entire elite tremble. This is the farce of our independence. The country is strong, but those who run it are weak. Not weak in capacity, but weak because of the personal likes, dislikes, and compulsions. And when you see the same signals repeating across the region, then it stops being a signal and it becomes a wave. Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Nepal, each rocked by so-called revolutions. But what has changed there? In Sri Lanka, China and India fought maybe their proxy wars. America sprinkled salt. And then people got just change of faces, the same status quo, new faces, old games. Well, in Bangladesh, at least there are some system-wide grip, some attempt to reorient policies. But in Nepal, just chaos, curfews, and another tilt hijacked by foreign interests. This time in India. The pattern is clear. Where systems are weak, waves come, faces change, nothing else. Now, could that wave hit Pakistan? Theoretically, yes. Practically, no. Pakistan is not built for revolutions. There's no collective national consciousness here. At most, people flee abroad when things get tight and then send funds to support chaos from outside, while those who are wrecking chaos in the country are talking about breaking the country into pieces. So anarchy is the future, not the revolution for Pakistan. And even in moments of the national trauma, imagine that. Benazir's assassination, or May 9th, there was no unified direction, no collective clarity. That is why I always say Pakistan is for 4 countries stitched together. And unless those units are given full autonomy with minimal federal interference, there will be no real progress. But of course, such decentralization would kill the very idea of establishment as we know it. So the cycle continues. An establishment run out on a collective wisdom, but on the whims of handful of few people. And yet, as these cracks deepen, KP being sidelined despite Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf's overwhelming mandate and their opposition to the operations. Whereas Balochistan reduced to submission under the guise of no room for dissent. The risk grows. You can stretch people only so far before the fabric tears or the whispers are of tighter crackdowns again. Pretext of contempt to silence the critics. One arrest after another. But when only the truly independent voices remain, then every hand laid upon them becomes visible. You can't normalize it anymore. Which brings us to internationally optics again. This Qatar visits. See, Israel strikes Qatar and suddenly Shehbaz Sharif is on a plane to Qatar. Why? What can Pakistan possibly achieve? If it was about signaling Israel, the time for that was when Iran was attacked, because Iran is our neighbor, our natural ally, not Qatar. While India, Israel's partner, is our natural enemy. That was the best time. That's when a bold gesture would have meant something. But that didn't happen. And this, what is this? This is optics, pure and simple. Optics for Qatar, which needs to show it as that Qatar has a friend, a military might. Optics for Pakistan, which wants to remind Arabs of its military weight. And maybe even optics arranged by Washington to spook Israel. But Israel isn't spooked because it knows militarily Pakistan is powerful. But it knows politically it is a joke. If this trip wasn't directly scripted by some Western powers, then it was our own establishment using Shehbaz to inflate its relevance once again, which is fading right now in terms of Western powers. SC optics, Qatar optics, all designed to maintain continuity of the system. And they are scared. Now they are scared. They are scared of this optics. How Secretary of State spoke to Dar, and how after that Khaja Asif has came up with the Imran Khan being Israeli and everything, because they are scared. Maybe American will, as usual, exploit their weakness. Well, the Americans, though, are trapped themselves. Israel has hijacked their policies. Once American policy shaped Israeli actions, now Israeli aggression dictates American policies. The result, the Arab states that paid Washington protection money for decades now wonder aloud. Are we paying you to protect us or to expose us? Israel bombs Qatar, the supposed safe house of negotiations, and the illusion shatters. America is on a losing hand in Middle East right now. Netanyahu has stretched too far. And even Trump won't be able to cover for him forever, even after the conspiracies of Epstein list. At some point, America will face the cost of proving Netanyahu right. Is America ready for that? The loss of its entire Arab foothold, that's not an easy thing to lose. That's when the real pushback will come. And maybe even regime change in Israel itself will happen. Or a limited war to cut it down to the size. Until then, everyone else is suffering. And in this chaos, Pakistan tries to remain relevant. But relevance based on foreign signals is not power, it's dependency. Already, the establishment bets on America and China at the same time, saying yes to everyone, delivering nothing. It is politics of Haji, Haji. While time runs out, and one day the Americans will realize the cost of over-indulging Israel, or cost of alienating India. See, another day Chinese will demand exclusivity from us. And caught in the middle, Pakistan will discover that survival by pleasing both is not surviving at all. And now when people call these developments conspiracies, I almost laugh, because what conspiracy is left when it's all happening in the open? Courts bending pressures, judges reduced to personal grudges, politicians trading principles for their children's future. This is not hidden. It is the system in daylight. And in this theater, every signal matters. Nawaz compromising will tell you that he was very much cornered. People's Party refusing to cross the red lines, NFCs and everything tells you their fear is real. Khan's rejections of CBMs tells you that he knows his value is in defiance. Maybe all of this is based on information. And the establishment's fury, the flurry of arrest, planted media episodes tell you that it's more desperate than decisive. That's the real crisis. Desperation dressed as authority. A government that throws eggs at politicians to manufacture a narrative. A judiciary that extends its own hand one day and retracts the next. Political parties that pretend to hold the cards but live in fear of being discarded after this November. Everyone is playing timing games. Nawaz waits for the right time. Zardari hedges his bets. Khan holds the line. But the illusion of total control is completely slipping. And this is where the bigger question emerges. Will Khan be taken out of the picture entirely? This is the second conspiracy. No. If it could have been done, it would have been done already. Will Nawaz survive the cost of compromises? Don't think so. And will country survive? Only until the next wave rises. Will the Federation hold under the weight of KP's growing anger? That's the nightmare scenario. And it doesn't take a revolution, just the slow fracture of trust. Will the Arab monarchs tilt to China? Not because they want to, but because America's indulgence of Israel is pushing them to look elsewhere. And yet, through all this, the people remain absent. Ordinary citizens are not there in the frame, except spectators or props. They are told to clap for one faction, boo at the other, and then wait for their turn to be betrayed again. That is why revolutions don't happen in here. Not because the people are weak, but because they have been conditioned to see themselves as irrelevant. Until that changes, every so-called revolution will be hijacked, every wave will be diverted, and every gain will be wasted. So where does Pakistan stand today? At the edge of opportunity and collapse simultaneously. It could use its recent displays of power to redefine its place in the region, to demand respect on its own terms, or it could keep burning those gains in the fire of personal egos and short-term politics. If the latter continues, the system will keep staggering forward, shedding credibility one piece at a time, until the cracks become impossible to hide. And then, whether natural or orchestrated, the wave will finally arrive. Not the revolution we romanticize, but the reckoning we fear.